I was emailing back and forth. Actually, IMing back and forth.
You IM?
This was like years ago. On this like dinosaur computer thing that I had with a friend of mine, and he's an atheist, and we were just jib jabbing back and forth on a bunch of stuff, And so I'd make a point, he'd make a counterpoint. This went on for however long it went on, and then right at the very end, I said to him, I said, John, I said, if indeed there is no God, and there is no beginning to this thing, and there is no end to it, I said, you have to come to the conclusion then, at this point, that your life is like utterly meaningless. And the screen just went blank. Because it's like, what's the whole thing? To live for 70 years, maybe have a job, maybe get a house, maybe, and it's like Solomon said, and then, you pass away, and virtually nobody, ever remember, your family's going to remember you, but once you get 1 or 2 generations down the road, unless you're,
if I were to say either one of you guys, tell me a little bit about your great-great-grandfather,
right,
who knows? And who really cares, to be honest?
Yeah, it has no impact on my life. But, so I think that's one of the sticking points for what you were talking about, Frank, and what intrigued me early on is there has to be some bigger meaning, to us. I think, I get crazy thoughts, man, because it's like, I leave for work at like 3:30 in the morning, so there's nobody around. I get to work, I'm there at 4:30, and it's so quiet, and you can just have time to, and the other day, I was thinking, here we go. All the technology in the world that we have, right? We can basically go to the moon, we could probably go to Mars if we wanted to, we can do heart transplants, we can do all of this other stuff, right? If we woke up tomorrow morning, right, and there was no drinkable water on the planet, we would be dead.
Finished.
In less than, in probably about a week. The entire human population would be dead.
Right.
We take so much for granted on an everyday basis, the amount of nitrogen to oxygen that's in the air. There's a fantastic book called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist.
Yeah, Norman Geisler?
Geisler, man, fantastic. And
told you we were smart.
Frank Turek, goes through a list of like 128 like different parameters. That if it was just the slightest bit this way or the slightest bit that way, there'd be no life on the planet. And quite frankly, even some of it that I was, the amount of time that lightning strikes the earth, to re-energize the soil with nitrogen. It just goes on and on. It's like none of this stuff, as chaotic as it seems at times, is really not random at all.
Right.
And so I just wanted to springboard off another thing that you said before, not to get into the whole evolution thing, but there are theories as well. You see, I like to think of things simplistically, even though I have a mindset as an engineer, that's what I do for a living, where I want everything to line up and everything to be in place. It has to make sense to me. But, then you get these simple questions in your mind, like say, let's take a bird, humanistic bird or whatever. Now this thing's walking around. Okay, so it's like, what does this thing eat? Does it have a mouth? If it doesn't have a mouth, how could it eat the food?
Right.
Does it have a stomach? Because if it doesn't have a stomach, what's the point in eating it? Does it have eyes? Because if it doesn't have eyes, how can it see where the food is? There's just an endless litany of questions. There is a theory, actually it's really not a theory, it's really kind of, scientific reality, if I can use that word, what's called the law of like irreducible complexity, right? Which states like even something simple enough, like the coagulation of our blood, right? There's like 12 incredibly complex things that have to happen in sequence, in order, no one of them being, misaligned, You know, in order for the blood to like properly coagulate itself. All right, sounds like a lot of, you know, mumbo jumbo and scientific jargon, but wait a second. You know, this is a system in the human body, in the human existence, or pre-human, whatever, ape, let's say, that cannot develop over a period of time.
Right.
Otherwise, the thing is walking through the jungle or whatever and scratches itself on a branch and dies right then and there.
Killing off the species.
Killing off the species. It's not, and as violent as they, you know, probably were back then, it would, something even just that simple would have been, you know, utter, you know, chaos for whatever, you know, species was around at that time. So it's something that, you know, could not have been developed over a period of time. It's not like, well, I have 3 of these things and I'm just waiting for the other 9. No, it's either there or it's not there.
Right, all 12. It's like bacterial flagellum.
Yeah.
You have all 47 parts or it doesn't function.
Yeah, and I know that George likes to speak to this issue a lot too. The problem I have with evolution, there are a lot of them, is that you're evolving, you're supposed to get better. You're supposed to get smarter. Would we really evolve to create the 40-hour work week for ourselves? I have a real problem with that. I have a problem with the fact that, why did we shed all of our body hair?
Right, and need clothes.
Yeah. Shouldn't we be living in cold climates? Shouldn't we be growing thicker hair? I mean, if we came from apes, why have we, this is just a question I'd like to ask, I never get a clear answer on, why have we shed all this hair and gone bald and made ourselves, made ourselves, us more than others, susceptible to the elements? Isn't it supposed to work in reverse? Right. So I'm really having a hard time understanding that and a lot of things like that. Let's talk a little bit about, we touched on it, but let's talk a little bit more about the whole fact that design in nature points to a designer. I mean, we don't get order from chaos. We don't get it in anything we see here. If we started chucking tables around right now and lighting things on fire in here and smashing stuff, if we took an axe to this room, we start busting up the cameras, you know, we're not going to get a more beautiful studio.
No.
So this theory, this Big Bang theory, this theory of evolution and all the rest of it, doesn't jive. It's, to me, if I could just get down to the bottom line, it's a smokescreen for, I don't want to believe in God, and I need some alternative, some alternate to go to. And the more scientists tag their name on it, the better I feel about it. And because I can't live with the reality of, I am created by a creator, and I have to stand before that God and give an account for my life, and will be held accountable for the things I say, the things I do, the things I think. Any religion that is going to tell me that I'm accountable to anyone other than myself becomes a burden for me. And I don't want that. I want to be free to be me and do what I please. And so most people will use evolution or atheism or agnosticism as an excuse. And what's really happening is if people could be honest with themselves and really transparent with themselves, they know deep down inside that that's a violation of their own conscience. That they're stepping all over their own consciousness to get to that place. And what happens is it grows callous. You know, I'm a guitar player. I'm playing guitar since I'm 12 years old. My fingertips right here, I could stick pins pretty far down and not feel anything because they're calloused. And people's hearts can get like that, the Bible says, where they no longer feel the prick of their conscience, if you will, the sting of their conscience.